You can just print money from anywhere as long as you have it.
What would you say is like the most dangerous thing that a beginner copywriter could do to like really keep their career like stuck?
If you don't see the value in growing outside of your comfort zone, if you don't see the value in putting yourself under pressure, then you're simply just not going to level up.
You dropped out of the college. How did you get that first big win?
One thing I did do is I put in more effort than most people. If you want to see your faster results in all of them, you need. And if you don't think your goals are worth putting money into, then, and that's a problem that you need to work on, the money that you're going to spend now is an investment. The money that you're going to pay later down the line are costs.
What do people at 6 figures a year as a copywriter, what skills do they have? How can you develop those skills?
Your mindset will elevate if you put yourself in a community where you are a shrimp, where you are an ant. So you're kind of forced to level up. You actually suck in the beginning, and you will suck, and you have to accept that. You have to humble yourself, As long as you can write that one good email, then you know you're a good writer. Yeah, you get good at that by just putting in the reps. But more importantly, if you want the real secrets,
All right, so today I'm here with Reagan, one of the rising stars in the email dojo. He is absolutely crushing it as a copywriter. And you've been in the game for a while now, and you've learned a lot of skills in the time that you've been in the space. Please share a little bit about your journey.
Yeah, happy to be on here, Matthew. Thank you for having me. It's super interesting. I think I have a similar journey to a lot of the younger guys, if anybody watching here has seen any of the other younger guys. And originally, I've joined a bunch of different mentorships. I first learned about copywriting, when I was 17. Andrew Tate said this word copywriting on the internet. And I was like, whoa, what is that? And so, I joined his thing for a little bit. Obviously, didn't make anything because when you first join something and you first learn about it, you don't really have the mindset built up to actually stick with it. And so there were a few different, he had a few different coaches in there, but it wasn't great. And then I joined another mentorship, which actually happens to be someone that Matthew knows. His name is Tyson, 4D. And so I was in there for about, a good 9 months. So a long time. And after that, I found Matt in the dojo. And that's when things really started to, take off. But yeah, it's been a pretty long journey. Like almost 2 years now. Then when I first actually learned about copy. So
yeah, I remember when we first started working together, you had 2 deals? What was the setup?
Yeah, I had one that was like a little $300 project, which took me 2 months to actually get that money out of the client. And then the second one was actually one of my friends kind of helped me write the message. He pretty much just told me exactly what to say the entire time. So I really had no skills. I kind of just got it, handed to me. It was just a one-time, another deal. And then I kind of realized you can make money with this stuff. Like, it's actually real. It's happening. Even though it may not be me and I have absolutely zero skills, it's happening. So then I just decided to pull the plug from school, and then I left college as a sophomore. So, yeah.
So you actually left college to pursue copywriting?
Yeah, I think if you want to do anything, you have to go all in with it. You can't put in a half-ass, effort and then, expect an above-average outcome. So yeah, I kind of went all in, joined the dojo, just practice every day, copy, outreach, everything. Personal branding too, which was new to me, super new to me. And I still got results with that pretty quickly. So that's another thing we can talk about.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about that actually. Let me just write that down. Yeah, I think the big thing as well with a lot of people getting into the space is they're not 100% convinced that this is what they should do. They're like, maybe I should do an Amazon thing. Maybe I should do copywriting. Maybe I should do, I don't know, some other social media thing. And then they say well, Matt, I don't want to spread my time to do 4 or 5 things because I'm not going to get results with any of them. How did you know that copywriting was the thing that you should actually double down on, even in the early days?
Yeah, so even now, you can say there's as much competition as you want. You can complain about the competition, you can complain about saturation, but at the end of the day, it's one of the lowest barrier to entry industries. If you want to do drop shipping, you need to know how to run ads. Well, at least in my opinion, if you want results quickly, unless you want to take the organic route on social media, but you need to know how to run ads. You need to know how to write the copy for the ads. You need to know how to do product research. You need to have money to start with, even with all of that. So you need a lot of money. You need a lot of skills to do a bunch of other different types of business models out there. But with copy, all you need is a beautiful little website called Google Docs. And then you can just start writing. And yes, I did talk about personal branding. Yes, I did talk about outreach. At the end of the day, outreach is pretty, you can have, templates handed to you, and it's not, I mean, it's definitely good to learn. But the reason why I chose copy is because it's really only one skill that you needed to learn. And then little did I know, further down the line of being in this industry, that now my reason for joining copy would have been different than what it was a while ago. A while ago, it was just because I wanted to do something that was easy to get off the ground. And I think that's probably why most people join it. But now I do copy because I understand that, it applies to everything. Now that I, the main, like the business that I write for right now is, they teach e-commerce. And so I realized copy is super, super important in e-commerce. Copy is super important in sales. It's really just sales in print. And now it's just something that you can apply to literally everything. A lot of the posts that I posted on Facebook that did super well, they did better because my lead was better, the post. My hook was better. And so copy can really take you in a bunch of different directions. It's amazing. Like, I'm in love with it.
Yeah, I love copywriting too, man. Like, the more I do things in business and like focus on stuff that's not copywriting, the more I want to get back to just writing. I just love it. It's the best. I like that point though. There's a good case to be made there for like copywriting as an option. Like, what should you do? Should you do drop shipping? Should you do e-com? Like Amazon FBA? Should you do copywriting? Should you get into crypto? Should you do trading? It's like every single one of these businesses online requires copy.
Yeah, exactly. Not only do they require copy, but they also require risk, time, and money. And with copy, the only thing you need is, you can, and at the end of the day, all of them, if you want to see your faster results in all of them, you need mentorship, which will cost you money. And if you don't think your goals are worth putting money into, then that's a whole different conversation. And that's a problem that you need to work on. But just the business model itself, copy, you don't need as much time, money, let alone like even barely any risk. Like what's your risk? You're going to spend some time investing into a skill that doesn't even require money in the first place, So.
Yeah, and I suppose you're also going to get better at communication, even if you didn't become a copywriter, like long term. Like, even if you decide, because there's been a few people that I've worked with that decided they don't want to be copywriters. No, that's their choice, right? But they decided not to be copywriters, and I was happy because I was like, okay, well, you found something that you do want to do instead. You go all in with that. But all the skills that they learned while they were writing copy transferred into the client success role that they were in, the sales role that they were in, the other work that they did. It still worked out for them. So that's really interesting. So you were struggling in the early days, but you put all your time and effort into it. You dropped out of the college your sophomore year as well to get into this. And then how did you get that first like big win that like changed everything for you?
Yeah, it was, I can give you like the strategy or whatnot, an application, reply to someone's story or whatever. But first you just have to, want it bad enough. I worked every single day for like a full-time job, like 40 hours a week, absolute minimum. Copy, outreach, learning your skills, just even just like, learning yourself, knowing your limits. And so the first thing you need to do is just, you need to want it bad enough. It's not the most sexy mindset tactic out there, but if you want it, you'll work for it. And so one thing I did do is I put in more effort than most people in the beginning, and that's why I got a better outcome, because your outputs are only as good as your inputs. But if you want to get into the actual strategy, so I built up my personal brand for about 1 month, right? And then I applied for a gig on Facebook. This was January, yeah, and I dropped out in probably right around December 1st. And so, the application process was like a month long, but with Tyson 4D, one of your former students, I believe, he posted the application in his Discord as well. And so I knew a flock of copywriters were going to apply to this. But I was already one of the coaches in that server. Coaches. I don't like to say that because, I'm super young and there's so much to learn. But I realized, well, if I could, exceed all of them in this place, all I have to do is just put in a ton of effort into the application and I'll stand out pretty easily. These guys have already shown me that they're not putting in as much effort in terms of their skills. And so that's what I did, it was an application. That was how I got, to where I am today with my main source of income. And so like submit a super long video, a Loom video. You fill out the questions in detail. You know, you show them that you actually care. You don't like be afraid to submit a Loom video. You don't give like half-assed answers. I think that's one thing that's a requirement. You know, if you're going to be hiring anyone, you should have a Loom video, because that's really going to show you who the person is. You know, how they speak, how they present themselves, and whatnot. But to answer your question, yeah, it was. I mean, on Facebook, you know, when they hired me, they looked at my personal brand, which is everything I learned from you. They loved it. And I think I only had like 2 testimonials up there, and one of them was like about, you know, like a metric that doesn't really matter at the end of the day, which is like click rate, because that varies so much from email list to email list, the relationship you have with them, the type of offer you're selling. And so, yeah, with barely any testimonials, with barely any personality on there, I only had about, you know, 30 posts at the time, because I was posting daily. But, you know, I still got the job. And the only reason, I wouldn't say the only, but the main reason they hired me, and I know this because they told me this, is because of my mindset. So if you don't have testimonials in the beginning, if you don't have, you know, a bunch of results, if you don't really have much, you need to have the mindset, because the mindset is something that it's hard for a client, it's hard for someone to hire you, because if you don't have the mindset, because they can't give that to you. They can't really change you. You have to be the one to want to change yourself. And once you have the mindset, then they can teach you the skills. And because you have the mindset necessary to learn those skills, they would be more than happy to hire you, as long as you're driven, as long as you're, you know, ready to put in the work. And so that's pretty much how my main source of income is right now.
Well, I like that a lot. And I think that mindset is definitely the difference, right? I mean, the way I like to think of it is, if you want something bad enough, you'll figure out the how. If you want something bad enough, you're going to figure out the tactics and the strategies that you need. You're not necessarily...
Well, it'll come naturally, yeah.
Yeah, right? You'll figure it out, and it'll come naturally as well. Like you're going to... If you really want something, you're going to keep going until you crack the code, until you break through, right? But I've noticed that a lot of coaches and gurus, you know, from the internet marketing space, like a lot of people actually, maybe even people watching this, they've joined a course that they would consider from a guru, and gurus talk a lot about mindset. So I'm, you know, I got into the industry. I also bought some courses from gurus. I didn't spend too much time in that world, but that was like 6 years ago. I'm curious, what do you think is, like, because the gurus preach a lot about mindset, and yet there's such a low success rate in their programs. What's the gap? Like, why is that happening, you think?
I mean, I would say probably the tactics that they're teaching around mindset. I mean, there's so many tactics you can teach. You know, there's journaling, there's like reframing people, you know, in their mind. But at least what worked for me, and what I liked about, you know, your mentorship, is your mindset will elevate if you put yourself in a community where you are a shrimp, where you are an ant. And so automatically, if you feel inferior, the only people you're going to compare yourself to are the people around you. You know, you were some of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And in the dojo, I was a shrimp, I was an ant. And so I'm like, I don't like feeling like this. So you're kind of forced to level up. Not to mention the actual tactics that you teach also help me a lot. You're a lot more straightforward with the mindset stuff. You kind of tell people, you know, the stuff that they need to hear, and not the shiny mindset stuff that they want to hear, that they think they're going to implement, that they're going to think about for 10 minutes after they watch, you know, I guess we can call them a guru's YouTube video or a module, make you feel good for 10 minutes and then leave. But no, the stuff that you told me is stuck with for a while. I mean, I wrote all of it down. I still remember it to this day. You know, the specific equation that you teach about, you know, being consistent, action, and whatnot. And yeah, I love that. And so to answer your question, the whole thing about mindset is you need to join a community where your mindset is forced to level up, because it's very hard to, you know, run from ourselves. If your mindset hasn't been optimized for the last however 15, 20, 30 years, however long you've been alive, your mindset is not going to change just within 3 months by your own sheer will. That's you sort of like fighting against yourself. But if you join a community of people where you feel like an ant, you know, humans naturally compare themselves to others. And so your only choice is to level up and become the people that you surround yourself with. And that's why I love your community, because, you know, all the people in there actually sort of force you to level up.
Well, I appreciate that as well. You know, that's really nice to hear. I think that's very accurate, the way I think about it for myself in my life over the last few years. I've been getting a lot more active, like into fitness, and I compare my circle today with the people 3 or 4 years ago, and all my close friends actively train. And
yeah, it's actually a really good point. I train too.
Previously, yeah, previously not all of them I was hanging out with were actively training. And so it's like, I look at my life, I was like, this year I did the 75 hard challenge that a lot of people have been talking about, you know, like 2 workouts a day, every single day, the certain diet. And I did it. And when I look back on those 75 days, like the closest people during those 75 days all were very, very active. And it's like, I would consider myself to have a pretty strong set of beliefs in business to help me succeed. At least at this point, I've been able to do some stuff. And yet, even when I had some of those really strong beliefs, and you know, some people call it like a mindset, a few years ago, I wasn't as active in the gym. So like, you can still have a really great attitude and a really great perspective and a really great outlook on life, but your environment will still pull you into it at like a default state. And so I echo what you're saying. Like, I see that in my own life. It's like, I went to the gym more. I was more active when I was surrounding myself with people like that. And yeah, I guess that is a thing. It's like, a lot of these communities, they're not pushing you up. They're pulling you down in some way as well sometimes. Nothing against anybody personally, but it's like, they're just kind of like, there's a little bit of mess in there, and they're like kind of dragging the energy down. And then you're around those people and they're struggling, and everybody's struggling. Everybody's a little bit like frustrated at their situation. It's hard to kind of rise above all that.
Yeah. I mean, also because most communities, you know, the barrier to entry to that community alone is like super low, and you know, whoever's running the community just lets everybody in. You know, I like to call them freebie seekers. Hey, anybody in here have anything that I can, you know, whatever, use for free? And it's like, if you don't think your goals are worth putting, you know, money into, then you're simply not going to succeed. You clearly don't value yourself enough. And so, yeah, man, I mean, I love the part about fitness, because how you do one thing is how you do everything. You know, a big common trait that I see between, you know, all the top copywriters, even the people I work with, they're not copywriters, whatever, they're closers, they're a business owner, they're all like jacked.
Really?
Like a lot of the people that I work with down here, yeah, they're in the gym like crazy. I thought I was, you know, pretty good in the gym. I've had some good numbers with like lifts myself. And then I moved down here to Miami, which is a whole other thing we can get into. And all the people that I'm with, once again, make me feel like an ant. And so now my mindset's changing. I'm growing. And you sort of have to put yourself in situations like that, like the dojo, if you want to level up. So
that's fun. Yeah, that must be an interesting experience. You're like, oh, I'm crushing it in the gym, and then like everybody now is like dominating. There's a team a team that I was working with, and they were all just next level jacked. And I was like, I'm like the weakest guy here. And I'm like, how do these directors that work 10 hours a day get that jacked? It's like next level. They're just like on all day, every day. And I think it's pretty inspiring. Like, if that's something that you want for life, you know, surround yourself with people like that, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I mean, another thing that's probably important to note is, you know, they look super busy, but they're also jacked. It's because they've laid the foundation, you know, and that's another thing. If you want to get good, like, I would recommend just go. You have to really want it first off, and the only way you're going to be able to go at it really hard for the first year or two to, you know, sort of lay that foundation is by really wanting it. Once you have the foundation, it's a lot easier to maintain something than grow something, you know, because you're actively not trying to break through new ceilings or whatnot. Same with copy. It's the same with the gym. It's the same with everything. So
it's a lot easier to maintain something when you've already built something. Yeah, that's something that we talk about a lot, actually, in the dojo as well, right? I mean, I've said this to people before. It's like when you know how to write copy, it's a little bit like riding a bike. It's like you kind of know how to do it. So even if you stop writing copy for a little bit, because, you know, this year I've been doing a bit more coaching and a little bit less copy. So I haven't been writing as much copy. But when I do have a week where I have to write, let's say, 20 emails, and like get back into it, it's pretty quickly you get it back. Whereas in the early days, it would take me a whole week to just write 5 emails. And I struggled so much in the beginning. So it is like that. And I think it's the same with fitness. Like when I was 15, I used to train 4 times a week, you know, swimming like 2 hours a day, like for those 4 days. Like I was pretty strong. I was pretty fit. And then like my late teens, I wasn't really that active. And then I got into copywriting, and I still wasn't really active for the first few years. And then I got back into my fitness, and like my body responded really positively. It was like a really quick response because there's like a foundation behind that, you know? So I think it's the same thing as here. It's like people that get started in this industry, this is the danger of just switching from stuff. Like if you're building your skills as a copywriter and then you just jump into sales, like you've just thrown away a foundation, and then you just jump into this whole new thing, and then you throw away that foundation. Oh no, actually I don't want to do sales. I'm going to get into crypto. Oh, I don't want to do crypto. I'm going to do Amazon. It's like, pretty much whatever you focus on, if you build the right foundation and you stack on top of it, you're going to see results with persistence, right?
Yeah, it's pretty much anyone who can stay in the game the longest wins. I had this when I was actually for an email list that I'm currently writing for. I sent out, because I don't just send out broadcasts for them. I mean, we're also actively hiring a lot because the company grows fast, and so I sent out an email that said we're hiring media buyers, right? And so a copywriter that I know texted me, and he goes, "Yo, should I apply for this media buying position? I'm not getting any results with copy. Should I apply for that?" I'm like, I just felt like saying, what kind of a question? Like, because, if you have shiny object syndrome and you're constantly trying to chase the next thing, the next thing, and the next thing, you're never breaking through that quote unquote ceiling. You're never going to break through to the point where you're going to actually be able to level up in that skill. It's, also 5 emails a week. That, looking back, that used to be relatable, but man, that's crazy. I wrote a VSL yesterday alone.
Yeah.
with AI, it's like, to be fair, I know the market, I know the offer, I know pretty much everything that I had a pretty good sales argument that I could just put out on paper, but yeah, that's a whole nother thing, AI. But yeah, if you stay in the industry long enough, you not only get better, but you get faster, and then they compound with each other. And then, 5 emails in a day becomes, you can just knock that out in like 2 hours. So.
Yeah, I can knock out a couple emails very, very quickly now. I mean, first week as a copywriter, it took me a whole week to write those 5 emails. Could probably write them in 3 hours today. Maybe a bit faster if I'm giving it like a 7 out of 10. If I want to make them pretty good, I might put a bit more time into it, That's a crazy thing. Like even this week, I was writing some content for Copy Basecamp, and it's pretty much about a VSL a day, because it's like 2,500 words on average, because it's about 15-minute trainings. So I'm writing about a 2,500 word module almost every single day. And it's like, by the end of the week, it's like, damn, I just wrote like 15,000 words of content besides all the other stuff I've been doing. And I'm like, damn, that's a lot of VSL, So it is a thing that you just learn. You just learn to get like that. But I think you get better like that from just writing, not from learning tactics and secrets. There's like very few things, at least I've been, in my experience, I'm very curious to know what for you, like the 3 biggest or 2 biggest things that you learned about copywriting that helped you get good were. But for me, there's not that many things that you need to like learn on day one. It's more about writing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. I mean, people have this expectation that when they start, they should somehow be able to write an email that makes them want to buy their own offer that they're writing for, and that they should be super good and whatnot. It's cool when you can write copy like that, but it takes a while. Just from my own experience, it's like you're supposed to suck. If you were good, it wouldn't make any sense. It's like there's a reason you don't see a 3-year-old without training wheels on a bike. It's like you need copy training wheels. You need to just put in the work. And that's why I like mentorship. Mentorship is the training wheels. And so it's the easiest way to just level up. And I didn't even when I joined your mentorship, I didn't have much money at the time. But even still, it's like it doesn't matter. The skills you're going to learn, copy specifically, you can just print money from anywhere as long as you have the skill. And and if you want to know, like, in terms of the fastest things that I think that got me better quickly, if you want tactical stuff like copy principles, if you will, I mean, mentorship was definitely like the overarching thing that helped me get faster than anything else. But I would say just feedback. Feedback is what made me better quickly. So mentorship, it's literally the same thing. You take action, you write every single day, and you don't skip a day. You, like, if you're a beginner, you can just do 1 email per day. That's plenty. That's definitely a good start. That's the biggest thing. Even though my copy was not the best, even if I spent 2 days looking over the email rather than 1 day, the email would have been better. But over time, I would have gotten better at a slower rate. So that's something I don't think people, look at. It's super interesting. Like, I could take more time to make something perfect, but if you take so much time to try to make it perfect when you have no mistakes in the past to compare it to, it doesn't make sense. There's an analogy that I like from Alex Hormozy, and he says there's 2 teams. there's two classes, and they have to make, pottery. And the teacher says to the one group, your goal for the entire semester is to make one really, really great pot. So like one really, really good email that you can just, as long as you can write that one good email, then you know you're a good writer. And then the other group had to create as many pots as they could. And the group that created more pots also created better pots because they had past mistakes to compare it to. And if you try to, make it perfect in the beginning, like it doesn't make sense. You're supposed to suck. If you don't put in the reps that show that you suck, and if you don't get feedback from people that say this is not good, you not only have, no motivation to level up. You need that harsh feedback. There's no ups without downs. But you have past mistakes to compare it to if you actually suck in the beginning. And you will suck, and you have to accept that. You have to humble yourself. 99% of people don't necessarily want to do that. And as a result, they're not really going to get the result that 99% of people want. But yeah, so it's like just taking action every day. You have to just do it regardless. Email, whether it's like even just like a Facebook post. Just try to get people to, because that's one thing I like to do. It's if you want to see how good your copy skills are, write a super long post, and in the last lines of the post, tell people to like comment something. And if they commented, that means they read through the entire post, and that means like you were able to keep their attention for that long. And so, yeah, you get good at that by just putting in the reps.
Yeah, I like that. That's I think there's something that happens in free communities that people don't realize is happening behind the scenes because they're not experienced. And it's not actually that the community is free in itself, because we've been talking a lot about the value of paying for mentorship and paying for feedback and paying for coaching. The thing that happens with free communities is people are always seeking more information because of the fact it's free, and they're like looking for more and more stuff to consume. And I've always said, like, if you want to be a successful copywriter, you need to produce more than you consume. I probably produce 10 times more than I consume at this point, just because I have a lot of stuff I want to say because I got to write stuff, I'm a copywriter. But a lot of these free communities, their focus is like more about the consumption of learning stuff and getting it for free. It's almost like fun or exciting to discover something for free instead of paying for it, because it's like, oh, this is
the shiny
paid
stuff.
Yeah. So it's like, let me consume. And then what ends up happening is you end up consuming 5-10 times more than you produce, and then you never actually get good at the skill. And so if you're not going to go for a paid mentorship of thousands of dollars, let's say you live in a place and you just don't have the income yet. Okay, so you start for free, you make a little bit of money so that you can save up to invest in the mentorship. Cool. But don't fall into the trap, if you're watching this, of using free communities and getting distracted by consuming more information, because that's their number one thing. The number one thing a lot of these free communities say is like, you don't need to buy a course, you don't need to pay a guru to get good at copywriting. And I agree with that. I do think that you just need to write, but it's like,
that's just a popular marketing angle.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is just a popular marketing angle, but like, if you do say, okay, I'm not going to go and invest in the guru and buy a course, okay, but don't go waste your time reading stuff. Go and like, if you don't have money, use your time, invest with time, right? What would you say is like the most dangerous thing that a beginner copywriter could do to like really keep their career like stuck for a long time?
I think it's everything that we just talked about. It's like the beginners, the biggest thing that they want is to be successful. That's the whole reason they get into the industry, right? And so the biggest trap is probably, like what we just talked about, joining a free community and trying to consume a bunch of information. And the thing is, every single person that's probably a beginner who's watching this right now has probably already heard this. Oh, I'm sick of hearing the whole information versus action argument. And it's like the thing that you're sick of is the exact thing that's going to get you to the next level. And every single person that you look up to, whether it's Matt, because Matt's a G, whether it's like Steve Jobs, whether it's like anyone, they did what you don't want to do, which is getting mentorship. I'm pretty sure Steve Jobs had a mentor. Elon Musk has a partner or a mentor. Warren Buffett had a business partner. They all have partners or mentors because they understand that mentorship it's like the shortcut. It's the secret, I love that word.
We use it a lot.
Yeah, and it's like every single person that has what you want is willing to do what you're not willing to do, which is to stop consuming information, stop consuming the shiny stuff, and just, like, even if you don't know anything, just just start writing, And an easy way to do it, like if you really want free information, sign up. If you want to be an email copywriter specifically, sign up to a bunch of email lists, analyze their emails, and just rewrite their emails word for word. Like, it's not even your own copy, just rewrite their emails. It's called, I'm pretty sure it's called copy working. Like, I think it's a legit thing. And when you write so much of other people's emails, you're not just writing the emails, you're writing, the structure of their emails. You're writing the copy principles they're using. And over time, you're going to learn them yourself. And so that's almost like a way to get feedback without getting feedback, because if you're rewriting emails that are already in your email list, there's a good chance that that person writing the email has already gotten the feedback for you. And if you're just, copy working and rewriting stuff that's already working, you'll sort of start to hear it in your mind, like, okay, I shouldn't say this, I should say this, I should give people a reason to keep reading earlier in the email, and so that's probably the biggest thing is, some type of feedback. So, because if you're a beginner, you don't have the knowledge to know where you're going wrong. And how are you supposed to level up if you don't fix the things that you have no idea that need to be fixed?
Yeah. I mean, there's a good point there with taking the emails and actually rewriting them, or like, writing over them, even like tracing them almost. I like to say with gurus, like a lot of gurus talk about how they know all these things to make money online. And it's all available for free if you think about it, because all of their marketing is public. So if they're teaching you a course, don't do as they say, just do as they do. Like, if you look at all the people making a lot of money from, like, let's say, like being a coach, and you want to see how do they make so much money, they're writing emails every day, or they're posting on Facebook, or they're producing videos, or they're running ads. Look at the ads and be like, okay, am I running ads? Am I writing ads? Am I writing emails? Am I writing content? That's what they're doing. You can just see the action like right in front of you. I mean, like take Tate, right? We talked about Tate a little bit. What's Tate doing every day? He's getting on camera every single day and he's talking to his audience. So yeah, he's good at public speaking. So like, if you want to get good at public speaking, why do you have to buy a course? If you want to learn public speaking, there's a lot of really great public speakers, don't have to be Tate, that have a message that they're really good at delivering, and you could like learn from them just publicly. So the cool thing about marketing, from my experience, is like, you can see everything publicly. There is no secret stuff to learning marketing, because it's all, the whole point of marketing is to put in front of as many people as possible. So the best stuff is seen the most, and it's like, you could just literally look at that stuff and you'll learn half of the 50% of it is that. And of course, the feedback is another part of it. And just to echo what you were saying earlier, because you were saying like, if you hear everybody keep saying you should pay for a mentor, you should pay for a mentor, you should probably do it if it's irritating you, at this point, like, but it's because they're all willing to do it. And that's another thing that I believe in. It's like, I'm not interested in information if I hear it once, because it's probably not that important if you only hear it once ever. But if you keep hearing the same thing again and again, it's probably something worth listening to. If every single person is saying, get mentorship, invest in mentorship, I think it's worth doing it, right? I mean, there's a reason that they're all saying that. It's not just because they have a course. Like, there's people that don't make money. Like, I don't think Hamosi sells a course, as far as I know. So, and he says
it's like a free school community, I think. Yeah,
yeah, it's free.
He said so, because that's how he got his results. Yeah, and it's like, what was I gonna say? It's like, it's cliche for a reason. It's cliche because it's true. Like,
I like cliches. A lot of the time, I like cliches. Because there's like a reason people are saying it, and everybody's saying like, oh, I can't invest in coaching and a mentorship. For me, it's like I put $5,000 on my credit card when I got started. So I don't think you even need to have money in the bank account, if you know what I'm saying. It's like, I didn't have money in my bank account. I went into the negative. Fortunately, I lived at home, so I did have a bit of a safety net there, but it was still scary. I remember, like, it was scary for me because I'd never been in debt before. I had never used my credit card that way. I was maxed out. Like, I only had $5,000 on my credit card. It was maxed out. And I was like, it's okay.
Yeah, but that's the whole reason you succeeded.
Right. It's put the pressure. Like, I was under pressure to make it happen. And it's like every month, another $200 would come off my card to pay for mentorships. And I was like, crap, I only got like 1 month, 30 days left before I'm out, before the card maxes. I got to make it happen, I got to make it happen. And I think that there's so much value to that. And people listening to this, it's like, you think that that's a lot of money. the $3,000 of debt or $5,000 of debt or even $10,000 of debt. I'm not suggesting you go and waste money on courses and burn your savings, but I'm just saying, like, it's not actually a lot of money. $3,000, $5,000. It's not going to destroy. I mean, depends on where you live for sure. But like, let's say you're in America, it's not $3,000. You'll survive. If you have to spend $3,000, it's not going to destroy you. You know, you can work really hard to pay that back. Worst case, to get the money back. You know, like, it's not a big deal in the bigger picture. So just do it. Just do it. You know, that's my message. I'm very passionate about this. Thanks for bringing this up. Yeah.
And a lot of people don't think, how much money are you losing if you don't spend that initial $3,000? If you don't spend the $3,000 to get the skills, how much money are you losing by not taking action? You know, the whole opportunity cost angle. You know, if you're not willing to go under the pressure, which diamonds are made under pressure, there's another reason that's cliche. You know, if you're not willing to invest the money up front, you're only going to pay more down the line. Because
that's good.
Because it's called opportunity cost. Because the money that you're going to spend now is an investment. The money that you're going to pay later down the line are costs. In other words, the smaller amount of money that you're going to spend now will give you a higher return on investment than the money that you're going to waste later down the line because you were afraid to take action now. So that's an angle I like to use in emails for people who are.
That's a good angle, yeah.
Because it's true. Yeah, it works.
Well, I like that. Yeah, I like that. I might use that in one of my emails. Thanks. Opportunity cost. Yeah, people don't think about opportunity cost that much, do they? It's like, if the money's not coming into your account, you haven't lost it. It's funny. That's such a funny concept. I've often noticed this. It's like, people are so willing to, let's say, they're so resistant sometimes to, let's say, investing in themselves. But money that they didn't make, they're not thinking about. But it's like, if you invest, let's say you spend $10,000, okay? It's like, damn, $10,000 just left my account. That hurts. But if you had the potential to make an extra $50,000 this year and you didn't, you don't necessarily feel the hurt, even though that's 5 times more money that you lost because of what you could have done, right? And I think that goes back to maybe what we were talking about in the beginning. It's like that self-belief. It's like, if you know 100% that you can be making more, and you're the ant in a community and you're working hard and you see the fact that you're not making money, every month is like that opportunity cost of like what you could make. For someone with self-belief, I think that's quite a motivator, wouldn't you say?
It is a motivator for someone with self-belief. And that's another thing, you know, everything I'm talking about right now, it's like, I have the self-belief. I already have the beliefs. The beliefs in me have already been shifted for me to believe these things. And so the reason why I wanted to come on here with you today is so that I can do the same for other people. That's the whole point of copy. The whole point of copy is to shift your beliefs, you know, to have better beliefs that will equip you, the necessary beliefs that you need in order to take action, you know? And so it's like, if you don't believe in any of the stuff that we're saying, if you don't believe in mentorship, if you don't see the value in, you know, mindset, if you don't see the value in putting yourself under pressure, if you don't see the value in growing outside of your comfort zone, which is the only way you're going to grow, then you're simply just not going to, you know, level up. You just have to be willing to do what most people are not willing to do to get the result that most people won't get. And so, yeah, that's really my goal here coming on with you today, so that anybody watching this, you know, you shift your beliefs. That is the necessary beliefs that you need, that everybody who has what you want also has, and they need it to succeed. So,
well, I appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about that. Like, what beliefs do copywriters, or what beliefs do people need to become a successful copywriter?
Yeah, so I think actually pretty much all of these I've learned just through my own personal experience. And so the first one is just, what's probably the most helpful one? Well, when I was starting, I didn't necessarily believe in, I didn't want to spend money on, nobody wants to watch 6K leave their bank account. Nobody wants to see that, but it's like, through that personal experience of me actually doing it, I mean, look at me now, it's like the opposite. I have money.
Transformation.
Yeah. And it's like, and it's like, now through having the personal experience, now I believe, yes, that was the right decision. And even though I didn't want to do it, at the time, the belief of, seeing the value in investing in yourself, even though I didn't want to do it, I still did it because everyone I looked up to has already done it. And I just thought in my head, it makes like zero logical sense to do the exact opposite of the people who have what I want, and it's like, I just have to do it. I can't really see the finish line right here. I don't know what's going to happen. All I know is that this is the first step that everyone else has already taken. And I know that if I want to eventually see the finish line, eventually gain the clarity, I'm going to have to make this jump first, And so that's one thing. Another thing that people struggle with a lot, I think, in the beginning, and I know this just from the responses I get when I ask the email list about like what their biggest fears are, is fear itself, the fear of investing in yourself. And people have like this sort of belief that once, like the perfect time, right? Where it's like, I'll do it at the perfect time when I'm not scared. I'll do it when I have the money. I'll do it when I have more time. And so I truly think the biggest reason they don't do it is fear, because they don't know. The whole reason you're not doing it right now is because you're afraid of what's going to happen, of when you actually do pull the trigger, when you do pull the plug, And it's like, the fear will never go away. Speaking from experience of me and my mentors, the fear is not going to go away. It's like every single person has the fear. The only difference is the successful people act in spite of the fear, because once again, growth only happens outside your comfort zone and not inside. And so that's another belief. You have to sort of understand that fear is your friend, fear is not your enemy. Fear is trying to tell you that you're about to do something meaningful, And so for anybody who's scared to, invest in yourself, fear should be your friend. I mean, because when I was fearful, the most fearful I ever was when I dropped out of school making zero money. And once again, your mentorship kind of saved me from that. But like, do you think, like, yeah, I'm successful now. Like I live in Miami, I live on my own, I get to do pretty much whatever I want. But do you think like I have this really like good up, if you will call it, but it's because I had the down, the opposite feelings of fear. And it's like, do you think I wasn't scared? Like, do you think even after seeing initial success, I wasn't scared that it's all going to be taken away from me? Like, there's always going to be fear there. The people who are willing to deal with it, are the ones who will and stay in the industry long enough, are the ones who are gonna push through. Like, so those are probably the two biggest ones: fear and investing in yourself, because they go hand in hand. And for me, they've been the biggest needle movers in my life. So those are probably the biggest two.
Thanks so much for sharing that. Really appreciate that. I think back on some of my fears, and I think I'd like to share a few of them with you and also people watching. And maybe you guys don't know, the kind of fears that I went through. When I first put that 5K on the credit card, it wasn't like I say it today from a place of confidence and like admiration for like how brave I was back then. I was so scared. I can remember the feeling, I was terrified. I really was. I knew I had to do it. You know what I would explain it as? For me, it was like this. It was like jumping off like an 8-meter or 10-meter diving board at an Olympic swimming pool. If you've ever gone to a big swimming pool place, it's like you're standing at the top and you have to jump because everybody is behind you, or like you've already committed, or your friends are around, and it's like, okay, we're doing this. Everyone else jumped. A 5-year-old jumped. He was fine. like he's okay. This obviously going to be okay, but I have to jump now. And it's like you're looking over, and it's like, whoa, it's like far away. And I'm not a particular fan of jumping off stuff really high up, But I did it, and it's like you do the jump, and as soon as you jump, there's like a moment of like, But then after that, you like land, and it's like, okay, I did it, and then you're like this sense of relief and like, okay, I made the right decision, or like, I guess with jumping off stuff, you don't think you made the right decision, but it's fun, like, oh, that was great. It wasn't as I thought. Right, but it's like terrifying. And so I remember I was like shaking, I was nervous, and I still remember like I was shaking while I had my credit card. It's not even it's not like some made up thing. I literally remember shaking. I was holding it with my left hand as I was typing the thing in. And I remember looking at the screen, looking at my card, looking at the screen, like, okay, I got all the numbers right. Once I press this button, money's leaving the account. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna press buy now. Okay, we're gonna press buy now. And then I eventually did press buy, and I was like, okay, it's done. And then there's this big button. It's like, congratulations, because it was like I bought it from Gurus and stuff. And I was like, congratulations, you're now in. And I was like, oh, it's happened. I'm in. So that was one of the first times I was like very, very, very nervous. And the coaching was actually really good. Like, it really did change my life. The other time I was really scared was when one of my first mentors asked me to do presentations in front of 300 people when I was quite new to the industry. Yeah, he's like, yeah, you know, like you'll be fine, like you can do it, you know, you should just jump on the call and like share stuff live. And he was on the call, and like there's 300 people that are paying like $500,000 or whatever to like be a part of this like training program, and I'm like now a guest speaker, and I'm like so nervous, and I just did it anyway. And I remember the same feeling. And I think this is another part of the entrepreneurial journey, is like you remember the feeling. You're like, oh, I remember this feeling. Last time I was okay, I'll be okay this time, you know. And then even recently, some people say to me like, oh, if I had $1 million, I would travel the world. Would you travel the world? Would you really travel the world? You say you will, but like I had enough money to go to Japan easily. And it was like 5 months ago. And I still remember like it was a solo trip. And I was just thinking to myself like, oh, you know, am I going to do this solo trip? And we're really going to pull the trigger on this? And I wasn't nearly as nervous as before, but I still hesitate a little bit. And I was like, should I do this? Should I go? Should I just stay and focus on business? Should I do this trip? Should I? And I was like, no, I'm going to do it, you know? But I think a lot of people don't realize that they're like, there's so many things they say. Oh, I would buy a house, I would travel, I would do this, I would go there, I would be here, I would say this, I would say that. It's like, I don't know. If I gave you the money, there's a lot of fears that actually are much more, the fears are a lot harder to deal with than the money part. And you just have to push through those moments. So anyway, those are some of the experiences I had with fear that really shaped my character. So
I love the stories. Yeah, and it's like for everyone watching this, like we're talking about stories, but that's another thing to think about. Like, do you want to be able to tell stories one day too? Like, what's the story that you're currently telling yourself? Is that going to lead to the story that you eventually one day also want to tell yourself? Like, do you want to be known as the person who, like when you're 10, 20 years from now, however old you are, whatever you see for yourself in 10, 20 years from now, do you want to look back and think, yeah, I'm the guy who never pulled the trigger. I'm that one dude who did what most people do and didn't pull the trigger. Or do you want to tell yourself, like, you want to be able to do like sort of like Matt just did, kind of look back on your experiences, reflect, laugh about it, because in reality, investing in yourself, eventually it's going to pay off if you just stick with it and, you know, kind of be the person you want to be. And so it's funny, like you talk about being scared, and it's valid. It's true. It's like the fears are valid, but it's also important to note that now we're sort of, you know, talking about them, joking about them. And it's because, like, yeah, you have to do it. That's the biggest thing. Because one day you're going to look back and you're going to laugh at it. And you're going to be like, oh, that wasn't a big deal. Because the dragons are only going to get bigger in life. At least when I'm only 20. And so just from my own experience, the dragons just keep getting bigger. And the only way you're going to keep up is if you get better, if you make the decisions most people won't make. And yeah, I think it's important to ask yourself, you know, what's the story you want to tell about yourself? Because that's also going to affect your confidence, your self-image. And in turn, if your self-image gets better, then you'll put more effort in. When you put more effort in, your results are better. And then your self-image gets better. It's like a constant, you know, what's the word? Maybe like a feedback loop or whatever. But it all compounds. And so, yeah.
Well, it's like the gym. I mean, if you think of the gym as well, right? It's like when you go to the gym and you lift weights, what is the goal? It's to get stronger so you can lift heavier weights, not lighter weights. So like in the gym keeps getting harder as you go. You're lifting heavier and heavier and heavier weights. So life is like that too. It's like every single time that you level up, you're lifting heavier weights. So life doesn't get easier. You just get stronger. And I think that people don't always think about that when they think about making a lot of money. It's like, oh, I'm going to make a lot of money. Life's going to be easier. Because they're currently carrying, let's say, 10 kgs or 22-pound weights, okay? And they're like, oh, no, like money will make me have less weights to carry. It's going to be so much nicer. But it's like, what I'm saying is, and what you're saying is, making more money means you're going to be, well, when you make more money, you're going to have the strength to carry more weight. And it's just going to, you're just stronger. Yeah, I mean, it's just higher quality problems. I mean, you know, I made a mistake. I made a mistake a few years ago. I lost quite a lot of money in crypto, like multiple 5 figures and almost 6 figures, actually. So it was a lot of money. And in the moment, I even thought to myself, oh, this is so painful. But I was like, you know what? Actually, it's actually okay. I'm going to tell a really good story. This is going to be a really fun story a few years from now. And I've used that story a lot of times. I've used that story as like, oh, you know, I wasted all this money. I lost all this money. What a silly decision. But I learned so many things from it. It was some of the best money I ever lost. Like, I learned so many good things from that. Taught me so many things about like where to focus your time and energy, and don't get distracted with stuff and focus on your skills. And so I have so many stories like that now from all the mistakes and all the hard times. And one of my beliefs for myself is if you feel deep down you should do something, if you do it and it doesn't turn out, whatever, you have a story. But if you never try, you never do it, you're gonna have a regret. That's gonna be a regret. Because I look at a lot of things I've done and I was like, I got to do this. I know I got to do this, because if I don't do it, it's always going to be a what if I did that in my head, in the back of my mind. Whereas if you do it, even if it doesn't work out, you're like, all right, I tried. I did it. I did give, it didn't work out, whatever. But I just don't want to have those regrets where it's like, could have done this, could have done this, could have tried that, could have learned this, could have seen this person, could have made this impact, and I just was too scared or didn't jump. Can you imagine walking back off the dive? You walk off the diving board the other way. What that, like, oh, got to go back down like the stairs. Yeah. As everyone's watching, you're like, no, I can't do this. And like, no, people, I don't know. I won't be that person. So.
Yeah, it's just two different pains. Like, you're gonna pay the price of life regardless. This is something that I heard Luke Belmar say. Whether you like him or not, it's true, and I know that from experience. It's like there's two pain. It's either the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. One of them gives you a return on investment. The other one does not. And so logically, if you choose the route of not committing, you are doing yourself a disservice. You are doing everyone around you a disservice. You are like, it's just not the logical path to take. It's like, it's always going to hurt whether you decide to sit down and write that email or you decide to go out with your friends. Writing an email is it's going to hurt, especially if you're not good. And then especially more if you get a review and someone says this is crap, because I've had that a million times. But it's also gonna hurt. It's also gonna hurt if you go out with your friends and then later you're like, oh man, and that one stings more. At least for me. The one, like, if you're gonna put in the work, like, it stings like right there in the moment. But if you just kind of get through it, that pain goes away in 5 minutes, and you get into a state where you're like, okay, now I'm invested in this action. And that's another thing people don't realize, like, taking action, like, right in the moment, if you need to do something, like, it hurts, like, it's resistant. You're resistant to doing it. But once you actually sit down for 5 minutes and do it, you sort of get into a flow state. And maybe it's not like super great deep work, but you're committed to the thing and you're invested. And you start to feel good about yourself if you do it for just like 5 minutes and then you stick with it. Whereas if you go out with your friends or you just don't, or you do anything else that's not taking action on the thing that's going to get you to where you want to be, that will sting for a long time, because the pain of regret is always worse than the pain of discipline. And so you just have to choose at the end of the day. Do you want to choose the pain that's going to give you a return on investment, the one that's going to make you feel better about yourself, the one that's going to make you better off for you and the people around you? Or are you going to choose the one that's going to literally just make your life worse and not affect anyone in a positive way? So, yeah, just pay the right price,
Yeah, the price of action is like, my mentor phrases it this way. I like this way of phrasing as well. It's like, choose your hard. Life's hard. Struggling financially is hard. Taking action to build a business and take control of your finances is hard too. Being overweight is hard. Going to the gym is hard. It's like every part of life is hard. The worst case situation, the best case situation are both hard. You just have to choose which hard you're going to go with. And I think a lot of gurus, they don't actually talk about this part, is that, how do I put this? I don't like this approach, because what they always do is they always make it more, it's like a glamour. It's like they only focus on the highlights of what the other side is. And I know it sells better. But like, for me, it doesn't excite me, because I'm like, I look at all that stuff and I know that's 1%, 3% of what life looks like. And I'm like, this is why I'm happy with the choices I'm taking, because the reality is it's really hard. The truth doesn't sell, at least for copywriting. Like, the reality of being a copywriter, it's not as exciting as people think it is, like, going into it. You have all the freedoms that everybody wants to do it for, but it's way more difficult than people think it is, and way more difficult than what the gurus say. And I'm like, good, because there's less competition then, because everybody stops trying. And it's like, good, I'm just going to push past it. And I'm going to create the life I want to create, So choose your hard.
Yeah, that's another thing. Just hard itself. It's like, the whole reason you want it is because it's hard. If everyone had it, then you wouldn't want it,
Yeah, that's also part of it. Got to earn it.
Yeah, exactly. Because then you'll actually feel good about it. And actually, man, what I like doing is I like telling people, including everyone on this call, this applies to you as well. This applies to me in the future. This applies to Matt. It's not guaranteed. Success is not guaranteed. Like it's on you, and it's like, you'll do it if you have the beliefs to get there. And I think something I like about Matt is that's sort of like what he told me. He's like, I remember the last thing you said to me, dude, before I joined the dojo, after I told you that I made like $1,300 or 300, it was one of those. You said, well, can you do it again? And I was like, yeah, I can. Like, I can do it. And he's like, okay, good. Well, then you can join the dojo. And I'm like, okay, sick. And I love how you didn't just say like, okay, yeah, you can do it again. We'll help you. It's guaranteed. And so, that's one thing I like about the dojo. It's like, you instilled the right beliefs of like making it up to me. And so everyone watching this, like, it is up to you. Like it's not guaranteed. And it's like, if you're not willing to accept that, if you want to, you can go listen to the people who will tell you like it's guaranteed that you can do it in those 30 days. You're gonna have everything you want. But it's like there's a good chance if they're telling you that, like, it's probably not true. It's not even compliant either in terms of like.
Yeah, you can't even technically write that. The copy is not technically compliant. This is the thing I've noticed, and now that we've got a little bit of a organic following, this is going to be very interesting for me because for a long time, I've obviously written for a lot of personal brands that have millions and millions of followers. So like I've seen the other side of things where you have a big reach in your message, people buy into the message. My reach has been very small. I've never really focused on the marketing side of things. And maybe now it's going to be different. You're going to see a bit of a bigger reach. But the interesting thing for me has always been the quality of people that found me without me actively doing any marketing. That was always very interesting to me. It's like, I didn't make any big promises. I didn't say we're going to change this. I didn't say we're going to change this. And yet people found me. And those same people are the ones that always get results. And this is something that no one will tell you, okay? Maybe I've told you this before, but for those listening, no one's going to tell you this. Of all the coaches I've worked with, the people that got results, the most results in all of those programs, the ratio of people that got those results are the early adopters of those products before they grew. Almost every single time. So like, you look at a program today that has 10,000 people, it's the first 100 people that got the results. Now, some people will say that's why it grew to 10,000 because they have those testimonials. It's possible. My thing is like, those first 100 people, there's a certain type of person that they were because they were looking actively to solve their problems and they were willing to do difficult things. And that's part of why they got the result, is because of them, not because of the coach. It's because they were the kind of person that was going to take that action. Later, the 10,000th person that joined just kind of jumped on the wave of everybody else jumping on in the marketing, and they kind of like the ride. So you got to just decide. I mean, if you're listening to this, you got to decide for yourself, like, which one are you? Are you the person that like an ad grabs your attention and like, oh, I want to buy, and I want to get this thing? Or are you someone that's like actively taken your future into your own hands and looking for ways to change stuff? Because those are the only people that actually get results with this stuff, in my experience.
Yeah, I mean, that's always surprised me how you have like a smaller following than like the gurus. Like that's always surprised me, dude. Because I mean, and you're also attracting higher quality people, therefore always getting better results because, you're letting people come to their own conclusion that you're the best without having to tell them, because when you're authentic and when you tell people the truth, you attract the people who are actually going to get results. And then when those people get results, then you can share them and then you'll attract more of the same people, So yeah, and that's actually something, when you spoke about that ad, that reminded me of something pretty interesting. It's like, ads are trying to get you to take action. That's the whole reason people are running them. And it's like, everything we're talking about on this call is just, belief shifting. Everything we're talking about is like, we have very similar beliefs probably around, money, investing in yourself, fear and whatnot, because we have similar experiences. Yours are definitely, a lot more than me, but it's like, everything we're talking
around
about
the sun
is
a few more times,
shifting.
that's all.
Yeah, it's a little bit. And the whole reason is because, everything starts with your beliefs. And so, if you don't have the right beliefs, you're not going to have the right thoughts, and you're not going to have the right actions, and you're not going to have the right outcome. And so it all comes from you. Because truthfully, everything is free. Everything is free. You don't need more information. You need different beliefs. Now that I know everything I do know about copy, dude, I could have just learned it in a YouTube video. To be fair, there are some things that that you can only learn in a mentorship, that you can only learn, like, for example, if the person who created the mentorship was sharing their personal experience and sharing exactly what they did step by step and screen sharing, then yeah, maybe that's something you'll get in a mentorship. But the whole reason like people will ever, you'll succeed with free information is if you have the right beliefs that will let you, to actually stick with it. And then, but it's like people can also give you all the information, but everyone's journey is unique. Everyone has their own challenges to come up that come up. And it's like, that's where free information falls short. And that's why most people don't, not even most, probably, well, yeah, when I say most, like 99% of people who watch free information, they don't succeed because everyone's journey is unique. But free information is not unique. It shows you how to like, learn, but it doesn't show you how to like react to the stuff. Because once you learn, it's like things are going to happen. For example, in e-commerce, it's like, what if your like Shopify dashboard gets banned or something? What if it gets shut down? Like what? The free information on how to find, like that product, how useful is it now? You need feedback on how to solve that problem. What if like your Facebook ad account gets shut down? And it's like, there's a million things that can always go wrong. And plus investing in yourself sort of, it's almost like it changes your mind. It's like when you put, I don't know how to explain this, but it's like when you put chicken in the oven, you can only eat it if it's cooked, It's like you're only gonna achieve that result if you like cook your mind the right way. Because once you pull the plug, it's like things change, neurons connect and everything. And so that's when the magic happens after you do it.
People don't realize that they're investing in themselves every second because we have limited time. So you might think like, not you, I mean, person watching, but it's like, if you think, oh yeah, I don't know if I should pull the trigger and should invest in myself. It's like, bro, you're investing hundreds of hours every month into watching all these courses. Like if you take your hourly rate, let's say your hourly rate's $10 an hour, you're just getting started. And if you make more than this, then it's even more painful, okay? So like if you make more than $10 an hour, this is gonna hurt you even more. If you make $10 an hour, it's still gonna hurt. It's like for every hour of your current hourly rate in the market, you're investing into your career or into making an income. If you spend 200 hours, how much is that worth? So if you watch a video on YouTube that's 5 hours, you paid $50 to watch that video, technically, right? And it's if you make more than that, if you're in a corporate job, you've just spent $500. And people value the dollar more than their time for a very long time until they get older, and then they start to reverse it. And entrepreneurs, I think, get to this point a little bit quicker sometimes because it's their time and the dollar is so closely connected because they're always active in business that they start to see like, oh wow, my hourly rate is worth $1,000 or whatever. Like from an economic standpoint, like my time is worth so much. It's like, well, your time is the only thing. You can't get more time back. You can get money back, but you can't get more time back. So every single hour that you're investing is an hour. And so let's just say you trying to figure it out all by yourself takes you 3,000 hours at minimum wage. That's $30,000 right there. Versus it takes you 1,000 hours, let's say with a mentor and coaching and feedback, it's 10,000. So even if you invested $20,000 into the mentorship, it's still break even actually, just at minimum wage. And you're going to get the skills that majority of those 1,000 hours are actually going to be invested at an income rate where you're making probably more than $100 an hour as a copywriter if you work with the right people, like just in copywriting context. So like not only do you save all those hours, but you also make thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars. You break even very quickly if you're of course taking action and you do all the things that, like you apply yourself properly like you have in this case. And then it's like, boom, you made all this money and you got your time back so to me, it's just a very logical investment, but people don't have that variable. They don't add the time variable to that equation. They just look at the dollar. Oh, this is $5,000. It's not worth it. Like, oh, I can't afford that, right? I couldn't afford it. I made it possible. I looked for, I can't afford it. It's like, how can I afford it? How can I make it work? That's the belief I would encourage people to have. How can I afford it? How can I make it work?
Yeah, that's a that's a good point. It's like the math doesn't lie, and like if you're gonna in terms of time specifically, I think most people value the dollar more, like limited money versus limited time, because I mean, every single day, the stuff that you need to survive, you're paying with money. But yeah, time, I think that's what gives entrepreneurs an advantage. They sort of, even if it doesn't make sense at the beginning, which it didn't make sense for me, even though it makes sense now, it's like your time is more important than your money. Because, it's like you said, your money replenishes, time doesn't. And you've got one shot. And it's like, if you don't put in the work now, like in a year from now, like if you're trying to succeed as a copywriter or anything, it's like in a year from now, you're either going to be closer to your goals or you're going to be in the exact same position, but one year closer to the end. It's like, which one do you want? Yeah, it's like
that's
like,
good.
Like it hits, but it's true. It's like in 1 year from now, you're either going to have invested in yourself and be closer to where you want to be, or you're just going to be the exact same person, which is probably going to make you, at least me, it would drive me crazy if like a year passed and I was just still the exact same person. Right. Yeah, and it's like, yeah, time is limited. That's what you have to. You sort of have to just accept it. It's hard to realize now, because I think most people getting in the space are young. They're not necessarily, close to their 70s or 80s, or right around the time when people retire, when you start to realize like, wow, like my time is running out. I mean, your time is still running out. It's like 1 year invest in yourself. 1 year, it's probably like it's an 80th of your life, like an 80th of your life. That you just that you value your time. The thing that's limited. You use your money for the right things, because if you do, it's going to replenish. And that 1/80th of your entire life is going to repay you back forever. And then it's like, then you will have the money that you always wanted. Then you will actually have, the freedoms that you want to be able to do, because you value your time and not your money. And so, yeah, I love that argument.
Yeah, it's really good. It's powerful. And there's a few people in here that are going to think like, oh, but I've been putting my time in for like 6 months. I'm struggling to get results. I'm not making the money yet. Let me just put it this way. The amount of money I made last month was more than I made in my entire first year as a copywriter. So if you think about time as more valuable than money, that's okay. It makes sense. But if you value money more than time, what that basically means is an entire year of my life, entire year of money making was worth nothing. That money was worth nothing relative to where I am today. The only thing that's valuable today is the skills I have. So if you're 6 months into this and you don't have the income that reflects where you want to be, I would just encourage you to focus on having the skills that somebody making your dream income has, instead of focusing on the money that they have. So it's like, what do people at 6 figures a year as a copywriter, what skills do they have? How can you develop those skills? As long as you're on your way to developing those skills, eventually the right combination of circumstances are going to work together, and you're going to get the clients, and the income is going to catch up with you, right? But if you're just focusing on the income and not the skills, you might never get to that point. So I had the same skills like today. Many of the skills I have today, I developed them 3 or 4 years ago when I was just working with just clients like in-house, working really, really hard. 4 or 5 years ago, some of those skills I'm still using today, but the return I get today is it's compounded because of all the time and I put in the game. But it's like, it's the exact same skill. And so back then I'm looking at people like, wow, they're making so much money. What are they doing? I was developing the exact same skills I needed now. So, you also got to zoom out a little bit if you're struggling and you're discouraged and you feel like you're pushing. I mean, how long did it take you before you really cracked the code? You said you've been in this for 2 years. When did you actually feel like you broke through?
Yeah, so it's like, I mean, people need to have more faith in the invisible progress. It's like, so I joined, when I really started to commit to copy, it took me probably a year. Yeah, when I really, it took me a year. Yeah, and so I learned about it when I was 17. I of course I practiced it for like a month, quit for 4 months, and then I joined another mentorship where I rejoined that same one. So it took me about a year. And so it's like, yeah, it might have taken me a year, but it's like every single month in that year mattered. If I didn't go through those months of no progress, I wouldn't have had the progress because my inputs were there to get the output that I wanted. And if people are focusing on the output, the thing that comes as a result of the inputs, like you're not like, how are you just going to create the effect if you don't focus on the cause. It's like cause and effect. The effect happens because of what you put in, you know. And so that's sort of like, even though I make money now and I live on my own, it's like I'm still prioritizing the skills over the income, because, you know, being a copywriter or succeeding as a copywriter, since, like I mentioned, it's really only one skill that you need to learn. It's only like the first level. If you really want to keep leveling up, which you will have to, because the industry always changes, there's always more people coming in. You're gonna need to focus more on your skills the entire time, because those are the things that are gonna, you know, stick with you. I think a lot of copywriters, I posted about this on Facebook recently, a lot of copywriters are afraid of in-house positions, which are the exact positions that you and I both have, that I still have. And it's the best, dude. But the only reason it's the best is because my mindset is centered around, like, I'm in a place right now where as long as I show up, I have everything I need to eventually make $50K a month, $100K a month, maybe even 7 figures a month. And it's like going in-house, learning as much as you can. I mean, you don't have to go in-house to do it, but I like most of the super successful copywriters that I know, all in the dojo most of them had an in-house position. And it's because that's where you learn the skills. That's where you develop the relationships. That's where you do everything that you need to get the output that you want. So skills will always be more important than income, because they're what creates the income, you know. And then it's like we said, you know, you have new problems, you know, and your new problem, your higher quality problem, is like you have to keep working at your skill. You have to, you know, stay ahead of your competition more now. Now your problems aren't like, I don't have any money. Your problems are like, you know, how do I keep it? And don't get me wrong, my problems after making money are a lot better than my problems before money. I'd rather have these any day of the week. Like, but yeah, it's just the skills. You know, you're not going to get what you want unless you prioritize your skills over your income.
Skills pay the bills. skills pay the bills. Skills are the secret, you know. And the cool thing as a copywriter is that you can earn and learn at the same time. That's a little expression I've borrowed from some gurus, but it's a true one. It's like you can learn and earn at the same time, and that's a really great experience. Reagan, I really appreciate you coming on here today and sharing all these secrets with me, man. Where can people find you if they want to learn and connect with you?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really use Instagram that much, but I'm on Facebook. If you search up Reagan Segarra, Reagan spelled like the president, last name Segarra. Connect with me there. Feel free to send me a DM. I would love to talk to any of you listening to this who want, if there's something that I didn't answer. But more importantly, if you want the real secrets, go to this guy.
That's it. The real secrets. Yeah, we really appreciate your time today. I think a lot of people are going to find a lot of value in this. I definitely really enjoyed the chat that we had, and looking forward to chatting again with you soon, man. Take care.
Yeah, loved it. Thanks for having me.
All right.